Hello and welcome to the Out of Lives review of Bridge Constructor. Bridge building games have been around for many years now. In fact, this game was released back in 2012 on iOS and then later on Android and PC. And now we have a somewhat unnecessary Xbox One version. Surprising absolutely no one in a game called Bridge Constructor, the main aim of the game is to construct bridges, a task that is surprisingly difficult at times. Your bridge has to support the weight of the traffic as they get from point A to point B. Getting a couple of cars across is fairly easy, whilst the heavier trucks require a more sturdier build. Tankers unlock about halfway through the game and easily explode at the slightest bump in the road. They act as the game's hard mode and they sure do prove quite the challenge, especially in the latter half of the game. This is very much a game of trial and error. It's easy to see where the bridge is weak once the traffic starts to cross. The beams will change colour, showing which beams are put under the most stress before they eventually snap. The player needs to take into consideration a few basic rules in the game's physics in order to keep the bridges from collapsing. But once you get used to them, the game becomes a much more forgiving experience. There isn't much variety in your building materials. This is not Minecraft, with just 4 types of materials unlocked as you progress through the game. You can't just lay them down willy-nilly. Every level has a budget. Players have to build a bridge within that budget, requiring you to build the bridge strong enough to permit traffic to cross, whilst using as little building materials as possible. The more money you have left in your budget, the higher your score. Striving for those cheap bridges gives the game some replayability. This game becomes very difficult in the second half, and the levels become much more varied. Up until this point, the bridges have all been flat. Now, some of the anchor points are placed in very strange places, and it introduces slanting roads and even jumps. This completely changes the way you will need to build. I can't help but feel this variety should have appeared much earlier in the game. After playing through over 50 very similar levels, these levels feel very refreshing. It's just whether the player will stay with the game long enough to see them. The controls for this game are better suited to almost every other platform it's appeared on. This game was built with touchscreens in mind. That being said, the controls for this game are quite intuitive, and after a few bridges you will undo and build almost as quick as if you were using a mouse or a touchscreen. Still, that doesn't hide the fact that this game looks and feels like a tablet game from 2012. If you can get past that, you will find a fun, addictive and pleasant little game that will keep you engaged for hours. For more reviews, blogs and Scottish banter, like and subscribe to Out of Lives.